Press play and let the story begin. Welcome to Velvety Vibe. She leaned closer, her warm breath grazing my cheek. From the corner of my eye, I caught the sight of her pink, plump lips, right there in front of me. Her 4 fingers stroked across my throat as she whispered, "When you're gone, I think no girl could stand you. But when I see you, this clumps, when you glare at me like that, I get it. That poor Mata's got every right. You've got something in you, Danny. A magnet, strong enough to pull stone. So imagine what it does to a girl." I closed my eyes. His breath was getting closer and closer. My body felt hot. I could almost sense the dampness of his lips. Then I heard his drunken whisper, "If only you knew how much I want you." I drew in a sharp breath, opened my eyes, pulled my head back, and pressed my palm against his mouth. The haze in his eyes disgusted me. My face twisted with revulsion as I said, "Haven't you figured it out yet? I can't even stand sharing a plate of food with someone." He froze. I stood up, opened my bag, and laid the blueprints out on the table. He quickly moved to block me. "I told you I'm breaking up with Saeed. I swear, the only reason I stayed with him this long was because of these little meetings with you." I glanced toward the balcony. Saeed was still on the phone. Raising a finger, I locked eyes with Tina and said coldly, "And by the way, it's not just sharing food I hate. I hate leftovers even more, especially leftovers from an idiot like Saeed." Her lip trembled, tears welling up in her eyes. Ugh, that same pathetic trick women always pulled to cling to a man. I sighed, grabbed my jacket, and walked out, ignoring her calling my name. Diako. I tore open a bag of chips and poured it into a bowl. Dropping onto the couch, I turned on the TV. I was exhausted, but sleep wouldn't come. So I stretched out right there, tossed a few chips in my mouth, and let the music play in the background. I barely closed my eyes when the sound of the front door opening made me sit up. Daniar walked in, a small duffel bag in one hand and a plastic bag of food in the other. I couldn't help but smile. Even though he had his own place now, he still spent most of his nights in Tehran, here. Kicking off his shoes, he said, "Hey, big bro." I was still the only one he ever greeted that way. I got up and went to him. Both his hands were full, so I grabbed his shoulders and pulled him into a hug. He stood stiff without protest. I was still the only one who could hug him. I pressed my lips to his thick, sun-streaked hair. I was still the only one who could kiss him. "Welcome home," I murmured. He just nodded, no smile. He set his bag down in the living room and headed into the kitchen. I picked up the duffel and carried it to his room. When I came back, he'd already unwrapped the food and laid it out on the table. I was still the only one who ever brought him dinner. Walking over, I asked, "When did you get in?" He placed a fork and knife neatly on my plate. I was still the only one he ever set the table for. "A few hours ago." I wanted to ask, "Where were you the whole first hour?" But I knew he hated questions. He disappeared into his room, then came back wearing a black and white t-shirt and sweatpants, his face freshly washed. My eyes lingered on him. Once, his head barely reached my belt. And now he was a couple of centimeters taller than me. His dark chestnut hair was brushed up to the side, a shadow of stubble along his jaw. The muscle under his shirt was proof he was still training hard, his deep, steady breaths sealing it. "What's new?" he asked. I was still the only one he cared to ask. Even though I'd already eaten, I picked up a piece of shishlik just to have something to do, just to keep him talking, just to stay close. Nothing much. Same as always. Work. Classes. That's it. Unlike me, he ate with real appetite. My heart squeezed. Daniar hadn't eaten yet. He'd waited to eat with me. so I was still the only one he cared enough about to wait for. "What about you? How was Kerman?" Without looking up, he said, "Good. And your next project?" "Courage. I'll be here for about 10 days. I was still the only one he gave any glimpse at his plans to, however short, however incomplete. I made him some tea and brought it out with fruit. His legs were stretched over the table while he scrolled through the channels. I frowned. "Danyar!" He shot me a sideways glance, queerly annoyed, then dropped his feet. I sat beside him. He grabbed a cucumber, biting into it with the skin. No salt. It always stung how I ran out of words whenever I tried to talk to him. Hesitant, I asked, "You're staying here for these 10 days, right?" He tossed the stub of cucumber onto the plate, stood, and said, "Yeah, unless I decide to disobey your orders." Then he walked into his bedroom. The sigh that escaped me burned hot in my chest and throat. I cleared the table and followed him. He'd taken off his shirt and was lying on the bed, cigarette between his lips. I leaned against the wall. "I wish you'd at least spare your lungs," I muttered. Without bothering to turn his head, he just rolled his eyes as far as they'd go toward me and let out a sharp, mocking chuckle. I shook my head and lay down beside him. One of his arms was folded under his head. I put both of mine beneath my own. "Still not married?" I laughed. "In the few days you've been gone?" He raked his fingers through his hair, then tucked his hand back under his head. "Haven't met anyone new?" I stared at the pale blue ceiling. "No, but I've been thinking about it." Flatly, with no trace of emotion, he said, "Really? Great. If you want, I've got plenty of girls hanging around me. I'll introduce you." His voice dripped with mockery. I ignored it and joked, "Those girls around you can stay yours. I'm looking for someone special." His phone lit up and went dark. He glanced at the screen but didn't answer. "Special how? Beauty, housekeeping, or chastity?" He dragged out the last word. "All of it. I want someone complete." He blew smoke into the air. "Then don't bother looking. Doesn't exist." I knew how he saw women. I didn't want to argue. It was ridiculous, but I asked anyway. "And you?" He burst out laughing, so hard he coughed. That was answer enough. "Marriage is a joke to you?" He stubbed the cigarette out in the ashtray by the bed. "What's the point? So I can build a nice, decent little life and be happy?" I exhaled sharply. "No, so you can settle somewhere. Find peace. A place where your body, soul, and heart can stay." He rolled onto his side, his face level with mine. Closing his eyes, he muttered, "Keep dreaming." His tone made my skin prickle. I snapped, "Danyar." His eyes flew open. I swear, in the middle of spring, his cold gaze froze me. He stared at me blankly for a few seconds, then shut his eyes again and drifted off. Frustrated, I dragged my hand down my face and groaned inwardly. "What am I supposed to do with you, boy?" I looked at his quiet, calm face. I was still the only one allowed to lie beside him without limits, and those stills were the only comfort left between me and my brother. Near dawn, I woke to a sudden movement. I'd fallen asleep right there, next to him. He sat up, clutching his head in his hands, drenched in sweat. I pushed the blanket off and rushed over. No need to ask. I knew he'd had another nightmare. I brought him water. He didn't take it. I squeezed his shoulder. "Drink it. It'll help." Finally, he let go of his hair, took the glass weakly, and drained it. He shuffled to the edge of the bed, feet planted on the floor, fingers back in his hair. I pulled the curtains open and cracked the window. Fresh air. He always seemed to need it after nights like this. Sitting down beside him, I asked softly, "The same nightmare again?" He nodded. I never knew what he saw, never knew the content. He never told me, never opened up. never shared. All I knew was that the nightmares came, vicious ones. His hands still trembled faintly. I ached to pull him into my arms, like when he was 6 or 7, or even 12, to press his head against my chest and pour safety into his broken soul. But now he was nearly 30, worn down, unwilling to accept affection, even mine. My head throbbed. His torment wore me down, and the fact that I couldn't help him wore me down worse. I reached for the pack of cigarettes on the nightstand, lit one, dragged deeply until it glowed, then held it out to him. "Here, if it calms you, smoke." He exhaled shakily, stared at the burning tip, and whispered, "So you know how?" I smirked. What man doesn't? He looked at me, eyes as empty as ever. "Do you smoke?" I turned to him. "No, cigarettes don't calm me." He gazed back at the ember. "Then what does?" I placed my hand on his back. "Being close to you, that's when I'm calm." I expected his usual long, heavy sneer, but he didn't give me one. He just asked, "And when I'm not here?" I stared at the faintly brightening sky. "Then nothing calms me. Nothing." He crushed the cigarette out without taking a single drag, stood, and muttered under his breath, "I'm going to shower." Shadab. Thrilled that Tabassom had dropped by work, I chattered away. "You won't believe how he comforted me. He even held my hand, said he likes me just the way I am. He's going to teach me Photoshop." I walked him home. We talked the whole way, even shared bread and cheese together. I squeezed Tabassom's hands, excitement bubbling. It's like he's finally starting to notice me. He sees me. He likes my simplicity. Why else would he be so kind, so attentive, so protective? You should see how he treats Sultani, stone-faced, never smiles. Everyone's scared of him, even when he's polite. But with me, he's gentle, soft, warm. There's gotta be something there, right? Don't you think so? I pleaded with my eyes. I needed her confirmation. I needed her to say it too. There's something. Her eyes went wide. Are you insane? He's 15 years older than you. You're basically a kid to him. My joy crashed. Tabassom the buzzkill. I pulled my hands away, sulking. What man becomes a father at 15, huh? That'd make Diako his second child. And it's not 15 exactly. It's 14 years and a bit. She sighed. You're out of your mind. Every word out of your mouth is Diako. Every thought in your head is Diako. You twist everything he does into proof of love. But he's not some 18-year-old boy, Shadab. He doesn't think like us, doesn't dream like us. That stage of his life is gone. His head rules his heart now. How could he possibly fall for someone so much younger? Marriage isn't a game of dolls. Damn you, Tabassom. Damn you, I muttered. Shut up. You're like some cursed owl, bitter, joyless, just like Glum from Gulliver. There are men 20 years older than their wives. Why is our 14-year difference such a thorn in your eye? She grabbed my arm and locked her eyes on mine. This time, no jokes, no mischief, just dead serious. Tell me, Shadab, are you really thinking about marrying Diako? I froze. Was I? Of course I was. Every girl thinks about marrying the boy she loves. What else is there to think about? Especially after that night we spent together. Eating, talking, walking home side by side, like a couple already. No, Tabassom was too cynical. 14 years wasn't that much. If Diako felt even a fraction of what I felt, nothing could stop us. And he did feel it. I knew he did. I'd sensed it. Before I could say more, Tabassom stomped on my foot so hard I yelped. I spun to snap at her, but she just arched her brows meaningfully. I followed her gaze and froze. A tall young man stood a short distance away, watching us. Panic jolted through me. Flustered, I stammered, "Can I help you?" He stepped closer, so tall, his face void of any warmth, his eyes, God, his eyes, I'd heard of them, like two shards of colored glass, just like Tabassom had described. A chill crawled over me. He stared straight into me. "Hatami, can I see my brother?" I shot to my feet, Tabassom too. He smirked at our frantic reaction, but his eyes remained two bottomless pits, empty and terrifying. "Yes, of course. Welcome, please, this way," I blurted out, words tripping over each other.